this voice stuff is almost out of hand. The Prime Minister is still telling untruths, saying yesterday that in one-on-one conversations, people arrive at the decision to vote yes. Well, Prime Minister, it depends on how many lies you tell to the listener. The Prime Minister says it isn't a radical proposal. But 34 times he said that the Uluru Statement will be implemented in full. That's the voice, sovereignty, shorthand for saying that you and I don't own this joint, and then a treaty. And that's not a radical proposal. But the Prime Minister says when the people, quote, talk through these issues, they arrive at a yes vote pretty comfortably. PM, you're deluding yourself. As David Michael Spratt of Mossman writes today, and I quote, my late Shearer grandfather, a 1901 Labor true believer, once told me while discussing politics that there was a significant difference between voting in a referendum and voting in a general election. He said, words to the effect, in a referendum, unless both major parties support the referendum, vote no. A more contemporary approach to voting in a referendum, he said, came from my old rugby coach. If in doubt, kick it out. Excellent advice. What about this Woodside crowd and their multi-billion-dollar Scarborough gas project? You see, sucking up to the government and tipping millions of dollars into the yes vote has got them nowhere. The chairman of Woodside is the Qantas man, Richard Goyder, and they're tipping into the yes vote as well. Well, the board said they supported the voice, and now a traditional owner has gone to the federal court to say that Woodside Energy and its multi-billion-dollar Scarborough gas project, I might add about 400 kilometres off West Australia's northwest coast, has unbelievably been given the boot in the federal court because a so-called traditional owner has said she hadn't been consulted over the impact of Woodside's seismic testing, and that the testing, she argued, would disrupt the song lines of the whales. Well, just imagine if the voice gets a look in. This stuff's already happening in the courts. Santos lost a case in the full federal court, not just with a single judge, as with Woodside. And the Santos project was 100 kilometres away from the Tiwi Islands off Darwin. But Santos failed to consult one Tiwi Islander. It had consulted several islanders through the Tiwi Land Council. Woodside had consulted plenty of traditional owners, though how you get to be a traditional owner of the sea 400 kilometres off the coast, I have no idea. But the voice would demand it be consulted, whoever the voice turns out to be. But here you've got a federal court where Woodside and Santos have consulted, but one person wasn't. One person believed that seismic testing 400 kilometres off the West Australian coast would disrupt the song lines of the whales. Perhaps corporate Australia, you gutless lot, will wake up, because as things stand, you will finish up with no voice at all. Australia's gas needs are being ditched on the specious grounds that a person who claims to be a traditional owner, whatever the hell that is, can torpedo our energy needs. Of course, the courts could have said, go away, couldn't they? Why didn't they? Or is the federal court frightened, like too many, of the consequence of just talking common sense on so-called Indigenous complaints? Mr Albanese, though, can claim one triumph. The way he's conducted this campaign has confirmed in the minds of many that Jacinta Price is the kind of person this country needs as Prime Minister. Wherever she speaks, the mobs gather. She's moving hearts and minds beyond conservative politics. But people are voting. I don't believe pre-polling should be allowed unless in the most extraordinary circumstances. There's a polling date October 14. If you can't vote on October 14 unless there are extraordinary circumstances, it must be that you're too lazy or you don't care. And then the ballot paper says vote yes or no. But if you tick, the vote is valid. If you put a cross, it's not. Peter Dutton wrote to the Electoral Commissioner, urging that ruling about what counts as a valid vote to be reconsidered. He got nowhere. Then we've got this media release yesterday from the Australian Electoral Commission, virtually alleging cheating and deception from the Yes campaign. Now, the Yes campaign have erected signage outside some voting centres, there you can see it, with the purple and white colours. Now, the purple and white colours are of the Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission in purple and white signs, and the Yes vote in purple and white. Look at the pictures. Now, the Electoral Commission issues a statement saying that the Yes signage could mislead a voter about the source of the signage and, by extension, the source of the message. In other words, the Electoral Commission agrees with Yes. The Electoral Commission has requested the Yes campaign not to place the signs in the proximity of voting centre signs. Now, my view on all this is simple. In a referendum, it's easy. Before you go anywhere near a voting centre, you know whether you're voting yes or no. You don't need anyone handing you anything, nor are you influenced by a sign. But if the referendum is about giving a say to all Australians, I've had a note today from a viewer in Cape York. Thank you, Jason, for writing. He's accused the Australian Electoral Commission of being racist and unethical by not providing a polling booth in Laura. Laura has a population way up in the Cape of about 228 people. Evidence of Aboriginal occupation apparently going back thousands of years. Laura is west of Cooktown. And the Electoral Commission, as Jason tells me, has given no notice to the people of Laura. And he asks whether people in Laura and surrounds be covered or compensated by the Electoral Commission or the federal government for accidents or injuries or death in making their way to vote to Cooktown and back on October 14. Well, Jason is confirming that for many in the bush, democracy only exists if you're prepared to travel hundreds of kilometres. Like many things, a mockery of justice.